So I've been sitting here trying to figure out what to film today, and I don't have any clue, any idea. The thing is, I'm forcing myself to film more YouTube videos because I'm a little bit burnt out, and I read somewhere that if you start doing things and you put momentum on what you do, you become more productive and more successful and all that. So this is me trying to be more productive, more successful. And the thing is, I recently became a father, and that took a lot of my time, and I put a lot of effort into raising out the baby. But the thing is, I let filmmaking a little bit on the side so I can be a better father. And because I didn't do anything for like 2 months, I feel like it's very hard for me to do anything regarding filmmaking right now, like even starting a video like this. So that's why I'm forcing myself to do it. Now, there's one thing that I kind of want to talk about, and that is the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. All right, so what's the deal with this camera? What's so special about it, and why did I got my hands on it? Well, basically, I saw the camera. I really like the form factor, and I'm a pretty big fan of what Blackmagic does with their codecs and their raw files, and obviously their image quality. And I've used an Ursa like a few years ago. It was my main camera, and I really loved it. At that time, I managed to get some really beautiful shots with that Ursa camera. Now, with time, the Ursa got a little bit old in terms of technology. I wanted something with autofocus because my job included more running gun, let's say, jobs. So I went with the FX6 and then the FX3 and so on. But there is a spark inside of me that kind of wants to get back to that old style of filming that I used to have, which was more analog, no autofocus, not so many like assistants and all that stuff. And I was looking back at some of the footage that I shot with that Ursa, and I was like, damn, that looks super good, even for like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and all that stuff. So that's why I got my hands on one of these. And to be honest, I'm quite impressed. And why I'm impressed? Well, it is because the image quality is great. I've used this camera on a TV commercial, and I managed to get some really beautiful shots. Fortunately, I cannot show you more than what I'm showing you right now, but be patient because the commercial is going to be out in a few weeks. So I'm going to make an in-depth review on how I used this camera on that commercial. But my first impression was like super easy. Like using this camera is like using an Apple product. You just part on and you already know what to do because everything is so intuitive. Now, there are a few limitations which I observed, but I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. But what I realized with it is that the form factor is amazing. It looks professional. The client didn't say anything about me shooting with a $3,000 camera or a TV commercial. But other than that, I'm using like the Blackmagic rig. So I have this viewfinder on it, and I have these rods here on top, which are great. You can use, for example, LiDAR systems, and you can mount it here, which is amazing. But yeah, overall, amazing camera. Everything went smooth. I didn't have any crashes with it. And I gotta say, the image is amazing. However, I want to talk a little bit about the limitations. So one of the big limitations that I saw with this camera is that you don't have higher frame rate modes in 6K. For example, one of the reasons that I wanted to use this camera on this commercial was the fact that the client wanted horizontal video and also vertical. And I decided to shoot in 6x5 format, the open gate format, which was great, but it didn't offer me a lot of frame rates available. So I was stuck at 25 frames per second, which is the frames per second that I normally use, which is not great. Because whenever you shoot like fashion commercials or other type of commercials, you want to have the possibility to have slow motion as well, because clients love that. Now, what I did is I went on to 6K 46, which is the maximum where you're in 16:9. And when I cropped to vertical, because it's a 6K sensor, I still had plenty of pixels, and it still looked good. Now you do have a lot more frame rate options, but you kind of have to crop down. You see, Blackmagic sensors, whenever you want to go slow motion, they tend to scale on the sensor so they can get higher frame rates. Now, that's not ideal, especially if you want to use the open gate where it looks the best. And besides the frame rate options, I didn't see any limitations with the dynamic range. Blackmagic claims that this camera has 13 stops of dynamic range. It wasn't an issue for me because we worked in kind of a controlled environment. Everything was super easy to light. We didn't have any blown out highlights or shadows, so that was amazing. And in terms of colors, I really loved how it color graded. Now, talking about color grading and talking about this kind of commercials, I want to mention something that has been truly revolutionary for me over the past few months. And what I'm talking about is Artlist.io. So this platform has been a game changer for me, especially since I became a father and now my time is super limited. So I have to be very practical in terms of how I work because I only have like 2-3 hours a day. Then I have to go take care of the kid and all that stuff. But whenever I use Artlist, it's super beneficial for me for a few reasons. Now, one of the reasons is that I have stock footage, so I don't have to go out and film some of the stuff that I already find on Artlist.io. And the stuff they have there in terms of stock footage is absolutely insane. The stock footage they have is much better than I would probably ever film. It's like made by super professional filmmakers, which is absolutely crazy. But there is one thing that I think it totally revolutionized the way that I work now. For example, I do a lot of commercials and I make commercials for my clients, and I always had this problem with commercials, and that is voiceovers. Now, when I worked in the past, the process of getting a voiceover, especially in English, was a pain. I had to go on all those different platforms, write and talk with the voiceover artist and make modifications, and the modifications took days and days, and it was like a pain, and it was also very expensive. Now with Artlist, things have changed because they have AI voiceovers and they have plenty of voices you can choose from, which is absolutely amazing, and it's actually mind-blowing how good they sound. Now, I took a little bit of time and I tested this voiceover on some of the commercials. I didn't have a voiceover because the process was too complicated, like I told you, and I decided to just leave it like that. But look how much of a big difference would have made if I used a voiceover in these commercials. And now let's hear it with a voiceover from Artlist.
Some chase the horizon, others carve their own path. Over rocky trails, across rushing streams, no terrain is too tough. Power meets precision, and adventure becomes limitless. With every twist of the throttle, the world opens up. The thrill of the ride, the freedom to explore, the confidence to go where few dare. Because it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey. CF Moto Overland 800. Go beyond.
And if you don't like that voice, you can always change it and, let's say, use a female voice.
Some chase the horizon, others carve their own path. Over rocky trails, across rushing streams, no terrain is too tough. Power meets precision, and adventure becomes limitless. With every twist of the throttle, the world opens up. The thrill of the ride, the freedom to explore, the confidence to go where few dare. Because it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey. CF Moto Overland 800, go beyond.
And on top of that, they also launched a tool that brings all of the Artlist features inside Premiere Pro. And you know what? I'm using DaVinci Resolve and I feel like I'm missing out so bad. Like, they have voiceovers inside Premiere, they have stock footage inside Premiere, and not only that, they have a tons of effects and plugins, and they also even have this plugin for editing that removes the silent part of your video, which have been so practical for me while editing this video. But I'm using DaVinci Resolve, so I kind of feel like, again, I'm missing out. So I have to install Premiere, and I want to check it out, and I want to see how good this is, because it would save me so much time, and that time I need it right now so I can hang out with my newborn, which is already 3 months. Anyway, now I want to talk a little bit more about the Pocket 6K and give you guys more feedback, because I feel like I haven't said enough about it. So I use the PL version of this camera, which allows me to use my best glass. And for the commercials that I shot, I used the Nisi Athena glass, which is super amazing. I feel like it's the perfect balance between soft and sharpness, and especially if you film faces, it looks really, really good. Now, I have to say a few things about the body style. Like I mentioned, I really like the form factor, and I think it's very well balanced. I shot everything handheld. I didn't needed a gimbal, and if I needed stable shots, I can always use the gyroscope from the camera. So this camera has a gyroscope, and it kind of records how you're filming. And because I filmed at 46 frames per second, I have more frames so I can stabilize the footage, which looks kind of cool. But I didn't need it because I think the camera is pretty stable. I think the rolling shutter looks great. And overall, for how much you pay for this camera is really amazing, especially if you have that raw footage that looks amazing, and it gives you so much color separation between the skin tones and all of that stuff. Now, what I want to mention is this screen on the side. Now, a lot of people complain about the positioning of the screen on the side of the camera, what's the point and all that. For me, it has a lot of sense. For example, I use an external monitor. This one is a little bit big, this one is a 7-inch, but I normally use a 5-inch, and also have the viewfinder. Now, the viewfinder is great, especially when you film at eye level. You just put it and you go. It's super simple. You can also focus very easily with the viewfinder. However, I wish the viewfinder had bigger magnification, so you can see the image bigger whenever you look at it. Right now, it's a little bit small compared to other viewfinders that I've tested. And also, the placement on the screen, why I think it's really great, because while you're filming, you can take your camera like this and make the settings. And I usually hold the camera like this and look like this, bam, 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 change, and ready to shoot. Bam, 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 change, ready to shoot. So for me, it makes a lot of sense. I don't use this monitor to view necessarily to film with it, but for making settings, it makes a lot of sense. Although a lot of people prefer buttons, I think it's the same with cars nowadays. A lot of cars only have the tablets, and you can make changes from the tablet. And a lot of people complain about not having analog settings. I think might be the case with this camera as well. You do have still a few settings here and buttons, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about the image. I don't really care about what's here, as long as I can make my settings. I'm the type of guy that usually makes the settings once and doesn't really change the settings towards the whole day. Like, I keep my white balance the same and frame rates the same and all that. So I don't know, I focus more on the images and the lighting, which I think it's more important. Like the lighting is far more important than the camera that you're using. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I wanted to do a video super fast. Like I shot this in 25 minutes, which is kind of crazy because I normally do like this. Oh my God, I have to record another video. It's gonna take so long. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know what. Well, I just made a video without knowing what to say and without, I don't know, planning anything. It's crazy. Like, I want to do more of this. Let's go. So if you enjoyed this video and the short little review, just remember I'm gonna drop a full in-depth review of this camera and how I used it in 2 commercials that I shot. And can't wait to show you and talk more about it because we're gonna go in depth, baby. Peace.